All right, it's officially 5:03. And as you all know, in the theater, when we say the show starts at 8, we really mean 8:03. So this is probably the right time to begin.
Okay, thank you, Blake. Welcome, everyone. I'm Rob Reifsnyder. I am a board and executive committee member for the Playhouse in the Park, and I'm also co-chairing with Woody Taft the Directing the Future Capital campaign for the Playhouse, and honored to be doing so. This is the latest in a series of subscriber events that we've been holding over the past year or so, and the first virtual event to help subscribers understand the vision for the expanded Playhouse, the 21st Century Playhouse in the Park, which we are very, very excited about. We're pleased to be staying on the hill in Eden Park. I know many of you are as well. And I think when you see and hear the plans for the expanded Playhouse, we think you'll be just as excited as we are. Now, I'm sure you've seen somewhere along the line that the total cost for this project is $49.5 million. That's a big sum. And while you might be suspecting that maybe fundraising has been sidelined or stalled or slowed down during these challenging COVID-19 times, I can tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, just in the past 6 months, we've been able to bring in about 10% of the total goal, working hard through all of these challenging times, and thanks to the generosity of many of our great donors and subscribers. So we believe that the wind is at our back, the end is in sight, and together we can make the 21st Century Playhouse a reality as we work to finish the campaign in the coming months. Now, don't worry, you still have opportunities to be part of the solution here. And we're going to be talking about that over the course of the next hour or so, if you will. Today, you're going to hear from Blake Robeson, our great artistic director, who's going to start out by talking a little bit about the need for the expanded theater. You're going to hear from Tom Ahrens from BHDP, our architects who have done a wonderful job on the design work and the efforts so far. And he's going to walk us around the theater. Blake will then come back on and walk us through what the new theater will look like, the Playhouse in the Park will look like. He'll share a construction update with you. He'll also provide you some thoughts about your opportunity to support the effort, and he will lead the questions and answers as well. And I want to make sure you know that Buzz Ward, who's a wonderful Playhouse in the Park managing director, is also on the call to help answer your questions. I want to assure everybody on the call, and you probably would know this if you know them, that Blake and Buzz and the Playhouse in the Park staff team have been very busy in these challenging COVID-19 times, working to figure out the coming year and coming years for the Playhouse, providing great leadership. So it's my pleasure to turn the program over to Blake Robeson. Blake?
Oh, thank you, Rob, and thank you everybody for taking a little time out to be here today. We're going to take 20 minutes or so and walk you through the building. We're going to show you a lot of pictures, a lot of renderings, try to answer questions along the way. I know some of you emailed in questions when you RSVP'd for this event. If for some reason I don't get to your question, I encourage you to use the chat feature. If you're familiar with Zoom, you know there's a button on the bar on the bottom of your screen that says chat. You can click that and type in your question. And at the end of the presentation, we'll try to get to as many of those questions with answers as we can. I'd like to start off this just by pointing out that the renovation has in fact already begun. Last summer, we renovated the Rosenthal Shelter House Theater. If you had the good fortune to attend Alias Grace or Two Pianos, Four Hands or Americus, the three productions we were able to do before the closure this year, you know how transformational a renovation of a space can be, because our new Rosenthal Shelter House Theater is absolutely gorgeous and comfortable and state-of-the-art. So that should whet your appetite for what we have coming up in the future. Moving across the plaza to the Marx Theater, I think it's important to start any discussion about a big project like this by talking about the need for a new theater. You've been coming to the Playhouse for years. You probably walk in and you look down and you see a beautiful set there. The show is always fantastic and the actors are always top-notch. And you might be thinking to yourself, what do they need a new theater for? It always looks nice when I go there. Seems pretty comfortable. But I guess what I would say is you don't know what you don't know backstage. And so I want to just take a moment and give you a few facts about what our Marx Theater is actually composed of. The Marx Theater was built in 1968. It has not had any kind of significant renovation since that time. That makes it the oldest unrenovated regional theater in the country. It's time for an upgrade. In the Marx Theater, you know, we have this wonderful thrust stage that extends out into the audience, which everybody loves so much. But on stage and backstage is very, very problematic indeed. And we've been challenging ourselves for decades with creative workarounds. But we certainly don't have the modern state-of-the-art facility that you would expect from a theater of this stature. We don't have wing space, which is to say there's no room on the sides to bring scenery on from. We don't have a fly gallery, which is to say that we cannot bring scenery in from above like that. If you've seen our wonderful production of Christmas Carol, you know that the only way to get big pieces of scenery on stage and off is through the floor, which is not very conducive to variety and creativity, and it's not the sort of space that our top-notch Broadway artists are used to. Also, from an audience perspective, you know the seats are relatively comfortable, but the sight lines are pretty tough. If you don't sit right in the center, you know that there are stretches during any play where you can't see the actors' faces, and that makes it harder to hear. Audibility can be a problem throughout the space. Even with our assisted listening devices. It can be very, very tough in the existing Marx Theater. The ingress and egress to the theater right now is very problematic. We have many, many, many sets of stairs. I like to tell people that I've been in theaters all over the country and all over the world, and rarely have I seen a theater with more steps and stairs in it than the Playhouse in the Park in its current configuration. So we're going to solve that problem too. And make it more accessible. We don't have a lot of handicap accessible seats in the current theater. We're going to fix that. And of course, the ingress and the egress is a problem. How many times have you stood up at intermission and had to wait 5 or even 10 minutes just to get back out into the lobby to use the restroom or get a beverage and a little bite to eat? That's a problem. And so we have to fix the flow in and out of the theater as well. Simply put, we need a new modern facility that is commensurate with the level of art that we habitually put on stage. How do we do that? How do we build a new theater without having to move in the process? This is one of the challenges that we threw to our friends at BHDP Architecture, a fantastic firm right here in Cincinnati. We said we want to fix all those things and embrace our park setting, make everything more user-friendly, solve our technology issues, and we want to do it all without having to move off-site for a year or two. So here to explain how all of that is going to happen and how amazing it's going to look and some of the clever choices they made about where to build the new auditorium is Tom Ahrens from BHDP Architecture. And he's going to start to take us through this slide deck here that you see on your screen.
Great. Thanks, Blake. It's great to be here. Welcome everybody who's joined. Really great opportunity for me to share kind of our experience on this project up to date and give you an update on how we approach the site planning and the exterior design of the project. And then I'll hand it back over to Blake to talk a little bit more about the interiors. Can we go to the next slide, please? So before we ever put any pencil to paper, the first thing we did is we talked to a lot of people, asked a lot of questions. So we talked to Buzz, we talked to Blake, we talked to board members, artists, patrons. And really what we wanted to do is get an understanding of the goals and the vision for the project. And these 5 words or phrases that you see on the screen are really the 5 key drivers for the entire project. And hopefully as we walk you through some of the imagery, you'll begin to see some of these things come to life. But the idea of being forward thinking, we really want to make sure that this theater lasts, make it last for the next 50 years. We want to make sure it's adaptable and flexible as times change. The second one there, multi-generational audience. We want to cater from everyone from grandparents to and their grandkids, that whole range of people that'll be using this facility. So really being able to offer an opportunity for everybody and give something for everyone to enjoy. In addition to that, as Blake mentioned, this idea of making this much more accessible to everyone, young and old. We want everyone to walk away with a truly memorable experience. And this is to support the amazing shows and the incredible high quality productions that go on at the Playhouse currently. But really we want to extend that experience to the moment you arrive in the park and drive up to the new Playhouse and really make every touch point along the way a truly great experience. It's not just the moment you sit down, but it's that journey of parking your car and getting to your seat and interacting with other friends and guests along the way. So really extending that experience throughout all the phases of making an evening at the Playhouse. The next one, the Park in the Playhouse, was really just putting a twist on Playhouse in the Park. And that's really to help take advantage of this incredible site, this unique site that the Playhouse exists in today, and maybe take advantage a little bit more than maybe what it currently does with what's happening around the building, maybe increase some of the transparency between the inside and the outside, and really blur the lines between outdoors and indoors, which could mean maximizing views, bringing in daylight during the day, seeing the lobby glow at night. All those types of things will be things we'll share with you here in a moment. And then the final one, that intimate relationship when you go to the Playhouse today, we really want to maintain that, make sure that we don't lose it. That interaction between the patrons and the artists is critical. People truly enjoy that. So we want to make sure that that intimate relationship is not lost in the new theater. So next slide. So the first slide here is really the site plan. And just to give you an idea of organization, north is to the top of the plan, so towards the word site plan. That would be where the art museum is currently. At the bottom of the drawing is Mount Adams itself. So the red dash-lined footprint that you see there is where the existing Marx Theater is today. So as Blake mentioned, one of the challenges that the design team had on this project was really to make sure that the existing Marx Theater could stay in production and keep putting on shows while we built the new theater. So just above that dash line where it says proposed addition in Fly Tower, that'll be the construction and the footprint of the new theater and all the back of house spaces. Now, once we build that, we will be tearing down the Marx Theater and we will be building a new entry plaza with a drop off, which is kind of the round shaped area in the gray. You'll see kind of a lighter buff colored or yellow colored area. That is going to be the outdoor plaza area with outdoor seating, that sort of thing. And then the shape that's kind of an upside down L, that is the new lobby that will connect the new theater to the existing building. It'll connect to the existing shelter house and also to the administrative floors. Now, one of the other drivers on the site was really to provide connectivity from the art museum to the north all the way to Mount Adams on the south. So what you see is kind of a squiggly line that runs from the top of the page down to the bottom. That light colored line is really the new path and drop off. We're kind of calling it an art walk. So imagine if you park up on Art Museum Drive to the north, getting out of your car, walking up that series of stairs, and kind of being entertained along the way, whether it's walking through the trees and the landscaping or having potentially some art pieces along the way, making that journey something of interest and exciting as you approach and make your way up the hill to the theater. So really this connectivity is really important, even for people who are just using and leveraging time in the park, that they can move from north to south very freely and safely, really trying to separate our vehicular traffic from our pedestrian traffic. Another key thing about how we located the new footprint for the building is really about the trees and taking advantage of the natural amenities that are in the park. Our landscape architect did an excellent job at evaluating all the trees on the site. They walked and tagged and looked at every single one. And what we realized is where we were able to put the new footprint allowed us to take down some trees that were kind of at the end of their life anyways, but it allowed us to really save one incredibly magnificent tree, which is just to the left of the word proposed addition. There's a green circle there, 2 green circles. That's a 150-year-old American elm tree that is really a beautiful species of tree, somewhat rare. So it's always been a goal to kind of stitch this new footprint in amongst the trees and salvage the trees that are really kind of the strongest and healthiest specimens in the park. And we know when we talk to other people, the landscape architect, the park board, they really appreciated the fact that we will be saving those as best we can. So once again, the highlight is this great drop-off roundabout at the front that allowed people to get drop-off people once again close to the door, and then make their way to the parking garage, which is kind of the large gray rectangle that's to the right of that dashed red outline. So that's kind of an overview of the site as we are kind of showing it and moving forward with today. So next slide, please. So this is a view at that drop off. This, once again, we're standing at the south end looking towards the north. And for all of you who've been to the Playhouse many times before, when you go and park your car, you're actually behind the building, right? You have no sense of where the front door is. So a key goal was to really make the front door very visible. So directly center of this image, you'll see a canopy above the gray car. That'll be the new front door. And it really serves as the backdrop there serves as a 2-story lobby space that will welcome and greet people as they arrive and get dropped off at the new lobby to the new theater. So this is really a critical piece to welcome and invite people in. To the left is kind of a tower element with some signage to help give some indication as you drive up to the top of the hill, kind of showcasing the Playhouse is up here. And then what you're starting to see in the backdrop there is that new fly gallery space that Blake mentioned. It's a large piece of geometry, so we're really trying to find ways to create interest, yet have it blend in to some degree. So a lot of glass, a lot of materiality here that we feel ties into the park, yet still creates a unique look and feel for this building, as many of the buildings in the park kind of have their own unique identity, but yet fit into the overall context. And the idea of using warm materials, using masonry and colors that align and reflect kind of what's happening in the nature that surrounds it has always been something that the design team has been keen on and driving towards. So then one more thing is the idea of graphics. You kind of see the purple graphic on the left, that idea of showcasing brand and identity for the Playhouse. Well, the idea here is we'll showcase the shows potentially for the season and just tie that into the architecture. So it's all kind of designed in and serving as a billboard in addition to the building serving as a billboard. Next slide, please. So as important as the building looks during the day, it's equally important to how the building showcases itself at night. So what we're showing here is really you parked your car and now you're beginning to walk up to the entry, which once again is pretty much in the center of the frame. And really the idea here was giving some honor back to the Shelter House Theater. We all know that that Shelter House Theater that was there first, so we wanted to find a way to honor it since it's kind of buried within the building today. So at night as you park and walk up to the building, you'll start to see it glowing up there on the second floor, right above the entry. That is where the Shelter House Theater is. So really giving more visibility to that and really creating this kind of lantern and welcoming effect as people walk up as kind of the lights dim, as the sun goes down. This really takes on a life of energy and excitement as people arrive and enter into the theater itself. A couple things, as Blake mentioned, the journey to your seat is going to be one that has a lot less stairs involved. So when you enter into the first floor of the new building, you will be at the level of seating for the new theater. Just to the right of the image, you'll see kind of a purple glow inside the glass. On each side of that purple glow are entries that'll take you into the theater, and then you would process down to your seats. to your appropriate row and seating. We also will be providing a new state-of-the-art elevator that will take people both up to the shelter house and down to the lower level of the theater, so they can access seating from both of those options. In addition to that, on the second floor at the same level as the shelter house will be a new balcony, which Blake will get into here more in a moment. Next slide. So this is an aerial view looking from the north to the south. So at the top of the image is looking back towards Mount Adams, and although none of us will ever perceive the building in this way, what we wanted to show you here is an indication of some of the construction that has been going on around the site currently, and you'll see some photos here towards the end of the presentation. But we've added this new loading dock, which really allows the Playhouse and the back of house stuff to operate much more smoothly than it does today. Just loading and unloading today is really challenging. So we're trying to solve all the different issues that address both operational aspects, yet increase and provide a great patron experience. The other thing is, as you look to the left, the tall element with the stripes on it, that is the fly gallery. And behind that is we're taking advantage of some of the topography of how the hill steps down and slopes back down to the road to allow us to put those spaces, back out spaces that are currently underground today, such as the rehearsal halls, the costume shop, those types of spaces that want to have daylight will now be able to have daylight. So you'll get a little hint of glass down there where the rehearsal halls will have a direct views outside into the park and actually be able to step outside the doors and catch some fresh air during rehearsals and such. We think this is an incredible benefit for the artists who sometimes get kind of locked down in that basement for long periods of time. And this is really an amenity that helps them have a great experience in addition to everyone else that's going to be using the facility. Next slide, please. So the final slide that I'll share from an exterior perspective is, once again, this kind of bird's eye view looking kind of down on that entrance plaza, just to give everybody a better sense of that arrival sequence. You'll be able to drive around, drop people off. There'll be plenty of opportunities for outdoor seating. There's actually an outdoor play area just to the right corner of where the glass is. Once again, as we mentioned, we're catering to young generation and older generations in multiple ways. So this outdoor play area would be a great opportunity for kids to play maybe before the show and allow their parents or grandparents to sit outside in a nice environment and interact with the park itself. So as you can see, we're just showing how that building relates to the shelter house, which is kind of just behind the brown tower. And then you see the administrative wing just to the left of that also. But you can see how it connects both sides from Mount Adams and over to the Art Museum, which is in the upper right corner of the image. So really trying to create a place and destination up here for both people and patrons using the Playhouse, but also people who are using the park. So with that, I will turn it back over to Blake, and he'll walk you through some of the interior design and architecture.
Unmute yourself, Blake.
Yep. Oh, great. Well, we have some interior shots here of the lobby. You can see the bar. This is looking back on the entrance that Tom was talking about. You'll see in the center of this photo, there is the staircase that leads up to the upper level. The upper level, which has the existing Rosenthal Shelter House Theater. You can see some of that stonework right in the upper center of this drawing. And of course, the balcony level of the new Rouse Theatre. Next slide, please. Here's looking in the other direction. You've just walked in the main door. You turned to the right, and there is the Rouse Theatre in front of you. There are entrances to the left of the center spread that has the monitor and some other stuff there, and also to the right. There's also an entrance on the balcony level. So as you can see, there are already 3 places to enter the new space instead of the 1 that we currently have in the Marx Theater. Next, please. Okay, this, I believe, we're going to get this queued up. We have a video to show you. This video can be currently found on the Playhouse's website. So if you're having trouble viewing it, or if it seems a little jerky, as these things sometimes are, We encourage you to go to the Playhouse's website. It's only a click or two away, but this will give you a true experiential sense of what it's like. You're walking in across the plaza now. You've parked your car. You're going in these main doors. And here you are in the brand new lobby space. To your left is our new box office. And then we're going to pan over to the right. We're going to see that staircase that I just mentioned. There's the staircase that goes up there to the shelter house and balcony level. The new bar on the left, seating on our right. And here we are heading toward through the Schuler Plaza and on our way to the Rouse Theatre. Folks, I've watched this video about 500 times, and this is the most exciting moment to me right here when you walk into our new Playhouse. Now you can see that we have an orchestra level, and if you look at those two bars on the upper side, there's what we call a parterre level, which means near the earth, and then above that is a balcony level. So we still have that wraparound feeling that everybody knows and loves about the current Marx Theater, which is to say that the stage indeed does thrust out a little bit. It's maybe not quite as thrusty as we have been in the past, but there is a very generous thrust apron. There's me with more hair talking to everybody. And now we're going to kind of jet up to the balcony level. One of the great things right now is that, as you know, the people sitting all the way in the back of the Marx Theater are sort of up in the 500 deck of the ballpark. We are now going to have a true balcony that overhangs the parterre and the back rows of the auditorium like most modern theaters have. And that's going to mean everybody is nice and close to the action. It maintains that sense of intimacy that we all know and love about the Playhouse. Now, as we head back out, you're going to be on the upper level now. We have only 2 levels instead of the 4 or 5 levels that we currently have. We look down on the beautiful new plaza. You can see some of those windows, the park and the Playhouse effect that Tom was talking about earlier. And there is the Rosenthal Shelter House Theater. You would turn to your right if you were entering it. We're not going to do that, but we're going to go by the porch area that you're all familiar with. You know, the concession stand is on your right. It's just gone out of screen. And now we're heading into a really exciting new place. It's an overlook where you can not only check on your car, but see the beautiful park. And this beautiful new function room here. This can be a discussion room, a VIP room, a donor lounge, so many different uses for it. And we're going to head back down the stairs into the main lobby. The elevator is not really featured in this video, but it's to the left of the main entrance of the theater. And I know questions come up about that sometime. It's an elevator which is bigger and faster than the one we currently have. That is our 4-minute fly-through video. And again, that can be found absolutely anytime you want by going to cincyplay.com and then clicking on the square that has to do with the capital campaign. So now we're going to go to the next slide. Great. So this is a rendering of the inside of the new theater as seen from the stage. So you'll never see the theater this way, but this is what the actors will see, and it gives you a good idea of what it looks like inside. Recall I said it still has this wraparound feel that we love about the Marx Theater. You can see on the first level up, there's the parterre. The back of the parterre is sort of level with the back of the orchestra, and then on the sides, it gives you some extra height. So if you're a person who really likes to see over the people in front of you, these parterre seats are going to be absolutely stellar. And then you go up to the balcony level. I think there's about 90, maybe 110 seats up there that will also give you a wonderful new view of things. So let me talk a little bit about how this solves the various problems which I articulated at the beginning of our meeting. The sight lines in this space are much, much better. You're going to be able to see the actors' faces at all times. and they're still going to extend or thrust out into the auditorium in a way that is akin to what you like already. The acoustics are going to be tremendous. We're going to have new acoustical panels. With the audience pinched in a little bit, it means just everybody can hear a little bit better. And for those of you who take advantage of the assisted listening system, I'm really happy to say that we are installing an induction loop system. If you're someone who uses a hearing aid, you may know about this technology that exists in a lot of churches and synagogues. It means that instead of putting on the earphones, which we'll still have, you will be able to tap into the sound system directly with your hearing aid. So you can use your own hearing aids to hear everything that's going on. That is state-of-the-art stuff. We're really, really excited about that. This theater is a little bit smaller than the existing Marks Theater. The Marks Theater is 626 seats. The theater you're looking at now, the Mo and Jack's Place, the Rouse Theater, is 530 seats. Why is it smaller? Well, we've crunched a lot of numbers. We've looked at seating maps and sales patterns for the last 20 years. And what we know is when we have a big sellout, that's absolutely wonderful, but we don't sell out every time. I'm sure you've had that experience of coming in to see a wonderful play, but maybe it's not a name brand play, maybe it's not a mega musical, but it's a fantastic piece of theater which we desperately want to do, and we know you're going to enjoy. But then you'll look up to the right in the Marks Theater, and you see all those empty seats up there. But we don't want that feeling. We think that 530 is the sweet spot. So that on those slightly lesser known plays, we're still going to be at 75, 80% capacity. And for the big sellouts, what we'll do is we'll extend the run, and we'll run the big musicals and Christmas Carol and things like that for an extra week or even an extra 2 weeks if we have to make sure that absolutely everybody can get in. Just a couple other things. Let's go to the next slide. Here's a view from the parterre or the balcony here, stage left. It just gives you a better idea of what you would be seeing. That's a sort of a composite set from several plays that we've done over the years that we put together, so you can really get a feeling for things. A number of you sent in questions asking about what sorts of changes we might be making in our design in the wake of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. And we want you to know that we are making some changes. We've got a lot of smart people at BHTP at the Playhouse, a lot of folks with specific knowledge about this. We're looking at more touchless surfaces. We're working at hands-free restrooms. We are looking at potentially more spacious seating. That's a sort of a dicey issue because the more spacious you make the seating, the lower the seat count becomes. And so we're trying to balance those things out. All of those things are going to come into play. Perhaps we'll have Star Trek doors so you don't have to touch as many things as you walk into the theater. We're probably moving towards an era where programs will be accessible online and things like that. Let's talk for just a minute, and thank you. Keep those questions coming in on the chat. I'll get to those very, very soon. Let's just talk a little bit about new seating because this is something that I know everybody wants to see. You can look around, even in these renderings, and see that the layout of the theater is not a carbon copy of our current Marks Theater. What would be the point of that after all? Why would we build a new theater and have it be exactly like the old theater? We feel that this seating configuration solves all of those sight lines and those acoustical issues and increases the level of intimacy that we love about the theater. But we also know that many of you have been sitting in your seats for many, many years. And so I want to reassure everybody that you will get the opportunity to pick your new seats in this new theater. And there are two primary criteria that are going to be involved. The first one has to do with seniority. If you've been a Playhouse subscriber for decades and decades and decades, well, you're going to get to choose first. We have a pretty good idea of who's been around how long with our computer system. So rest assured, if you're a 20, 30, 40-year subscriber, there are fantastic seats close to the stage, far away from the stage, wherever it is you want to be. We're going to make sure that you get to choose first. The second group of people who also get to choose first are people who give money to help build the new theater. And we think there's nothing wrong with that. There are enough good seats for absolutely everybody. And so as you've heard me say before, we understand not everybody, has huge bucks and can make big contributions. So we're going to honor your seniority. But if you're giving us, a couple $1,000s or $10,000, we're going to be able to bump you higher up in the queue than you might have otherwise been. But please know that we will take care of absolutely everybody along the way. Let me take a quick look here at some of the Zoom questions so far. We've talked about COVID-19, bathrooms and locations. There are going to be more bathrooms with more stalls on both levels of the theater. We are going to have 2 family bathrooms. We're also going to have 2 gender neutral bathrooms, in addition to the traditional male and female, which will be existing on both the main level and the second level for the balcony and the shelter house. So I think everybody will be very, very pleased with that. Leslie Clark asks where marked section 2, row G, seats 5 and 7 will be. Well, Leslie, I guess what I can tell you is there will be a row G somewhere. There will be a G5 and G7, but it's not going to feel exactly like it does in the marks. And again, we're going to make sure that you have a chance to sit down with our people and choose the seat that is closest to what you had or most like what you want. A little more information about the elevator. Yes, as I said, the elevator will be to the left as you're looking at the entrance. It'll be a larger elevator. It'll be faster. It will take you up to the balcony level, or if you have accessible seating that is down in the front of the theater, something that we currently don't have, it'll take you down and you'll be able to enter into these front few rows that you see in this current configuration here, like down there in front of the little rug and table and things like that. Right now, as you know, our handicap seats are only across the back entryway of the Marks Theater. There will be accessible seats all over the new Rouse Theater. So folks who perhaps have wheelchairs or walkers or canes or just need that extra comfort and help in the accessible seats, you're going to be really, really happy. This doesn't just meet ADA requirements, this exceeds ADA requirements in a really substantial way, and we're very proud of that. Let's see here. Leslie has a question also about, names, seats that are going to kind of been passed down. If it's the same account, but we have a new name on the account, believe me, we track all that stuff, and we're going to be able to take care of you. Parking is something that comes up periodically, and I will say this, the parking situation is not going to be significantly better. We looked at the possibility of adding another level on the parking garage, of adding 2 levels on the parking garage. It was just cost prohibitive. This is a very, very heavy lift for our Playhouse, and we knew we had to put the money into this part of the audience experience and to everything that's going on backstage and on stage. I'm going to take one more question from the Zoom chat. We'll keep going. We'll come back to the chat questions. No, there won't be less parking. There'll be about the same amount of parking. And the physical seats will be the same on all the levels. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I think some of you may recall that we had seats out in our lobby so people could vote on the seats for the Shelter House Theater. They're not going to be those exact seats, but they're going to be something akin to that, even more spacious, even more comfortable perhaps. And they'll be the same physical chairs in the orchestra and also in the parterre and on the balcony. Allison, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide here. Okay, here's a little bit of an economics lesson for everybody, and I won't dwell on this, but I think it's of great interest to people. This is what we call our return on investment slide. And the headline here, if you look up in the little gray box in the upper right-hand corner, is that as Rob Reifschneider told you at the beginning of the meeting, it's a $49.5 million project. But if you add up all these things, all these value-added aspects of it, the economic impact, all the jobs we're bringing to our community at a time where we desperately need more jobs, the economic impact in Mount Adams, the economic impact of increased attendance at the new Playhouse, and new partnerships that we may be able to pull off, the total economic positive impact is 97.7 million. So basically we're getting $2 into the community for every one that we put in. And that's a tremendous, tremendous boon. One thing I forgot to mention, but that we always like to point out, is that our new stage configuration with the fly gallery, with the wing space, with our modern theater, is going to allow us to partner with Broadway producers occasionally and do tryouts of Broadway-bound plays right here in Cincinnati. So we'll be the first to get to see those plays. We'll put our stamp on them, we'll make our contribution, and then send them on to New York. And that will be absolutely stellar for putting Cincinnati even more on the cultural map than it already is. Next slide, please. Okay, we're not going to dwell on this too much, but as you know, we still need some help here. We've had some very, very generous gifts. Some people on this call have already made their pledges, and we're extremely grateful to you. But we wanted to just scroll through these, give each one a few seconds, and you can see that there are still some significant things that need funding. If you're a lucky person who has those means, we absolutely want to talk to you. But even if you don't, we want to reinforce that we need everybody to be all in on this project. We're in the home stretch, but we can only get there together. And that means whether you can give us $10 or $10,000 or take advantage of one of these big naming opportunities, now is the time. We have to close this gap. We are, to pull out a football analogy for you, we're on the 10-yard line. We're at the edge of the red zone, and we got to get into the end zone. So now is the time to pay attention to those mailings when they arrive in your home. Let's go to the next slide, please. We're in the home stretch here of the presentation. These are some photographs just to give you an idea of what's going on in the Hill. If you're suffering from cabin fever and you haven't been out of your house in a while, hop in the car, drive on over to Eden Park, and you will see that there's a tremendous amount of early construction already going on. You can see that big, beautiful elm tree that we talked about in the last slide and in this one, sticking out here above the retaining wall. What they're doing right now is they're cutting the access roads, they're moving all the utilities, they're doing the site work that will be necessary so that when we do the official grand groundbreaking to the new theater, everything is teed up and ready to go. There's a little bit of the retaining wall. This dirt area on the right is going to be the new driveway that will bring our trucks in and unload the sets on. And I think there's one or two more. That is a big hole in the ground looking down on Ida Street where our stormwater retention system is going. Yeah, look at that. That's going to catch a lot of water. And you can see there's still a nice wall of trees there. So our friends on Ida Street don't have to look at too much ugliness along the way. Okay, fantastic. We've got a couple other questions here. Emily Hodges, will actors in wheelchairs be able to access the stage? What a fantastic question. The answer is yes, absolutely. And we have not been able to do that in the current Marx Theater. If I were to take you backstage, Emily, what you would see is it's crazy town back there. I mean, it's like an Escher painting. It's like Pablo Picasso designed the backstage of the current Marx Theater. It's very difficult to get on stage, and you're constantly going up and down and ducking and under stuff. We're going to fix all that. So yes, actors with disabilities who are an important part of our cultural community will have a much more friendly time working here. John Brannick says he's 6'7". Will legroom in the seats be better or the same as today? You know what? Our friend Rob Reifschneider, who kicked this all off, might be something close to 6'7". You're a tall gentleman as well. Yes, the seats are going to have more legroom and more width. So it will be more comfortable than what you're currently experiencing. And that will exist throughout the orchestra, the parterre, and also the balcony level. If you've been in the Rosenthal Shelter House Theater here in the fall, before we had to shut down, you got a little taste of that. we know that there were some patrons who simply stopped coming to the shelter house a long time ago because if you weren't in the front row, there was just no way you could cram yourself into those old seats, and that's no longer the case. The marks will be even more comfortable than that. So we're very, very pleased with where we are along the way. All of this is on schedule and coming along. The site work that we just showed you the photos of is scheduled to continue through September. And as long as we are able to do our groundbreaking soon after that, we keep fundraising on track. We'll be groundbreaking soon after that. And the anticipated grand opening of the new facility is in the fall of 22. So let me contextualize that for you just a little bit. We are currently heading into the 2021 season, like an academic year. So we will complete this season, and we'll have one more in the existing marks, the 21-22 season, before the last thing that happens is the Marks Theater comes down during one very long summer and turns into that beautiful new lobby and entrance plaza that you see. And so in the fall of 22, the beginning of the 22-23 season, we'll be in that new theater. How much of the 49.5 has been raised? An awful lot. As I said, we're in the home stretch. We're doing our final calculations, but we wouldn't be talking to you now if we weren't well within reach of that. We're north of 40, let's put it that way. And we feel like we can get there very, very soon. If there's one or two more questions, we'll take those. One final thing I wanted to address, not so much about the capital campaign, but a number of you asked this question when you RSVP'd simply about the upcoming season. Here we are in Hamilton County, not in particularly great shape as far as COVID numbers go. You can expect an announcement from the Playhouse later this week about how we intend to proceed in the coming season. We are going to have to make some adjustments in terms of the schedule, but we think we're doing it in a responsible way. Obviously, the safety of our patrons and our artists and our staff comes first. And so we're probably going to need a little bit of extra time to iron those things out. Right now, we couldn't even open if we wanted to. We're prohibited by the state of Ohio. We are a mass gathering site, after all. That's what makes the theater special. We need to be able to gather several hundred people in a room together in a fairly intimate environment to enjoy these stories. And so we're going to take the next little while. We're working in tandem with the other theaters in town, with the other cultural institutions in town, to put together a plan, a health and safety plan for all Cincinnatians, so that the same things you do when you come to the Playhouse will be the things that you're asked to do when you go to the Ensemble Theater or to Music Hall or to the Aronoff or any other site. Again, we have a revised season announcement hitting the airwaves. I think it's Thursday. Is that right, Mr. Ward? It is Thursday. So trust me, you will hear from us by email and eventually by snail mail and certainly on the social media sites. And there'll be, I think, some exciting parts of that announcement that you'll want to tune in for. So I urge you to go ahead and check our website and check the social media and your email on Thursday for that update. Okay, wonderful. So we are at about, look at that, 5:51. Not bad, folks. We want to thank all of you for taking the time to tune in. We want to ask that you really give some serious thought, if you haven't already, to how you can help. Not to belabor the point, but this is the moment where we all have to do whatever we can to make this theater the theater that we all want it to be for generations to come. We've enjoyed our Playhouse for so long, but we need this new facility so that we continue to enjoy the theater arts together for the next several generations. So whatever it is that you can do, give it some thought, but think quickly. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. When that mailing comes out, don't put it in the circular file. Please, please, please take an extra moment and open it up. And if you can find it in your heart, in your means, to help join together and make this a beautiful reality, you will not regret it. I promise you. This is a theater that we can all be proud of together. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be signing off. We look forward to talking to you in the very near future. Take care and be safe.